everyone, and welcome to RFD TV Live. I'm agriculture broadcaster Max Armstrong, and tonight we're talking with the folks from Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers. The subject, the latest research on plant nutrition. We'll take you to the field in just a few minutes. You'll see some of the work that Agro-Culture has done. You'll see their facility in Michigan, a state-of-the-art facility there that's, well, it's providing a lift to the economy at the same time, too, in a state that can use that kind of a lift. But we'll answer a lot of your questions about liquid fertilizer versus dry fertilizer and some of the nutrient management questions you might have with our panel of experts. And as is always the case, you'll have the chance to call in a little bit later here, by all means, to participate in the program this evening. So we're glad you've joined us. Let me introduce to you our panelists. First of all, sitting here next to me, Cory Schurman. Hey, Cory, how are you?
Good. It's good to be here.
And your role with Agro-Culture is what?
I'm the Senior Agronomy Manager.
How long have you been with the company?
Well, a long time. Almost 25 years now.
Oh, that makes you a veteran at this point, doesn't it?
Oh, well, sometimes too much so.
Sitting next to you, Dr. Jerry Wilhm from Agro-Culture. Jerry, how have you been?
I've been doing great, Max. Glad to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you with us to share your expertise. You're the Director of Research, is that right?
I'm the Senior Research Manager for Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers. I'm based out of our corporate office in St. John's, Michigan, which is in central Michigan.
You're out in the field a lot, one would imagine, out there in those plots. In fact, we're going to see a little bit later how extensive your plots are. I was impressed with the variety of plots you have and the variety of crops under which you test nutrients.
I'll be anxious to show those.
Very good. We have a genuine bona fide farmer with us this evening, too. Yeah, we do have an expert on the panel from the grower's standpoint. Joel Armstrong, producer in Kentucky. Joel, how are you doing?
Doing fine, Max.
You and I had the privilege of crossing paths a few years ago, and it's good to see you again.
You too.
I know you're right in the southern part of Kentucky, right? Tell us a little bit about your farm and the lay of the land.
Right. We live in the southern part of Logan County. Town is Adairville, Kentucky. We farm in about 1,500 acres. That consists of about half corn and half wheat and soybeans because we're in far enough south that we can double crop. Farm with my father and Raymond Armistead, and my youngest son farms full-time with us, Zach, and have some part-time help from my other son, Ben.
That's great. 3 generations involved there.
That's right.
How close to the Tennessee state line would you be?
Well, we have some ground that actually borders the state line that we farm. Actually, we're about 1.5 miles north of the line.
How's your wheat looking at this point?
Wheat's had a hard time this year.
Yeah.
It got zapped a little bit with the cold weather. We're still assessing the damage. It seems to be related to what variety and therefore what maturity it was at the time we got the cold weather. But we dipped below 30 degrees for a little bit too long.
Yeah, that would have been what, last week maybe, or a week before?
The week before.
Yeah, it was a brutal blast, all right. We'll talk with you a little bit more, but let's set the stage for our discussion this evening, talking about liquid fertilizer. Why is liquid better? Let's watch this video.
Getting nutrients into the plant and getting positive responses are what Agro-Culture Liquid specializes in, making Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers a better choice for the farm. Matching prescription fertilizer blends to a nutrient need cycle greatly increases that crop's ability to extract or utilize those nutrients. When we take the crop's nutrient need cycle and we match them up to a fertilizer release cycle, we can get a much better efficiency and better uptake and utilization. Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers with flavonol technology and long-chain polymers are able to produce products that are better able to meet the nutrient need cycles of crops. Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers can custom blend a nutrient mix for your specific crop's nutrient needs. Whether your crop's nutrient needs are full season or short season, Agro-Culture Liquid's prescribed blend of nutrients can meet those demands. This gives the growers the best chance of better yields and better quality while using responsible nutrient management. When you compare fertilizer blends to a common scale using sodium nitrate as your base, you will find that Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers has some of the lowest salt indexes in the industry. Agro-Culture Liquid's lower salt indexes actually allow those nutrients to be taken into the plant tissue with less negative side effects, much closer to the crop's root zone. This gives growers the greatest opportunity to utilize those nutrients for their crop. Agro-Culture Liquid's nutrient mixes have a lot higher absorption and nutrient effectiveness within the plant. This gives liquid both a much higher level of effectiveness and absorption, so when nutrients get into the crop, the response from them is maximized. By using soil and tissue analysis, Agro-Culture Liquid area managers and salespeople are able to develop prescribed blends for their fields. These unique nutrient blends can be customized to that grower's unique circumstances and challenges on their farm. Using a prescribed nutrient blend gives that grower a bigger response to what he is applying in his fields. A lot of fertilizer manufacturers develop blends based solely upon the analysis. While this is how fertilizers are regulated, it has little effect on the impact or the results those blends can have in the field. Agro-Culture Liquid takes high-quality nutrients and balances them according to their function and need. So it's the balance and the quality that gives us the response overall, not just the analysis. In quick summary, it's not just one thing that makes Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers a better choice for a grower, it's many things. We're giving growers highly effective, highly usable nutrient prescription blends for all their crops' nutrient needs. Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers, nutrients, not numbers.
Prescribed, I believe I heard Cory Schurman say there. Cory, let me come to you for just a little bit of emphasis. I think you hit it exceedingly well in the video there, but why is Agro-Sure different, Agro-Liquid?
Well, when a grower buys fertilizer, he doesn't buy fertilizer just to have it in his fields. What he wants is that fertilizer into his crop. And he wants that uptake, and he wants that response, and he wants that yield response to give him the best results. Agricultural liquid fertilizers are formulated to give you a better uptake, a higher percentage of that nutrients actually getting into that crop and giving us a positive response. And that's what we want to have happen. And there's a lot of parts to it. Like that video said, it's balance, it's matching up what our plant's needs are to when those fertilizers are going to be releasing. It's looking at our soils and figuring out what we need, when we need it, and how can we make that come together.
Nutrient placement is crucial, though, isn't it?
Nutrient placement is really, really important. Every crop has a zone of uptake. You know, corn with a fibrous type root system has a zone where it draws its nutrients from. And if we put the bulk of our nutrients in that zone, we're going to get a lot better response. Well, then you have a taproot type crop, like say a soybean crop. Well, it's much smaller, and it's actually even more important. You know, sometimes soybeans are something we'll talk about later, but foliar feeding is really actually a pretty good option for that. Well, then you have your feeder root systems, like with a wheat crop. Well, placement's not quite as critical with those crops. And so placement becomes a key component in putting those nutrients in the right place. It doesn't, you know, if a grower's trying to feed livestock, he doesn't put the hay or the grain outside the fence and expect them to eat it.
Yeah,
it's the same.
Great analogy.
Yeah, it's the same with fertilizer. We have to put those nutrients where those crops can extract them and get that uptake.
Certainly you guys have work that applies across a wide expanse of the United States. You're not just a Michigan company, but that's where you're headquartered, right? That's where you're based?
That is where we're based. We have 3 plants across the country. We have many rail plants across the country. We do a lot of trials, do a lot of work with growers. That's one of the things that I do, working with the growers in their fields and developing programs with them, and so they can test on their farm. You know, because those are the results a lot of times that matter the most to a grower is what they see, you know, and help them come up with a blend and what it is that they need to do. And if it's a tomato grower in California, a sugarcane grower in Louisiana, or a wheat grower in Pennsylvania, you know, they all have different needs and they have different soils. And so we can come up with a blend for their farm and what their needs are, their yield goals, and what their potential is, and come up with a program that fits them.
I know the Michigan Director of Agriculture came out to your facility. He had some very interesting things to say when he came calling there at Agro-Culture. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Well, I'm at Ashley today to really celebrate the expansion of Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizer, and it's just a great success story that Troy Bancroft and the team here has, where they're able to expand their services, be a good community neighbor. Well, the Cooks and the Bancroft really were the first pioneers and entrepreneurs. That's really what it's about. It's trying to reinvent Michigan with those entrepreneurs and helping them grow and be successful in the marketplace. If you can work with communities and businesses in a public-private relationship and partnership and help those communities grow in the future, that'll be the secret to the success of Michigan. So this was a brownfield, abandoned site, contaminated site that needed to be cleaned up. So the Bancrofts and the Cooks and the plant here actually allowed the site to be redeveloped into something that's beneficial for the community. While we lost 850,000 manufacturing jobs in the last decade, the food and agricultural industry actually increased at 11%. The farm gate value went up 27%. It's over $6.5 billion at the farm gate for the farmer. 1 in 4 jobs in Michigan has to do with food and agriculture, and we actually export 1 in 3 rows we grow. So it's big business. Well, gone are the days where you have large attractions, and what this administration and Governor Snyder very specifically wants to do is to help work with entrepreneurs to grow their businesses as individuals, as good community citizens, and helping benefit those in the rural areas of this state. I'd say that businesses such as Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizer are high-tech businesses, and we really are looking to increase productivity. There will be over 9 billion people to feed by 2050, and the only way you do that is through high science, high technology, delivering nutrients to the plants. And this firm was a pioneer firm, and they have it right, and they'll help us be successful in the future.
It is encouraging indeed to see more and more states recognize the significance of agriculture, not try to shun it, not try to ignore that it's there, but yeah, by all means, especially in the past past couple of years, it's been the heart and soul of the economy for many states that were hard-pressed otherwise, to be sure. Cory, let me ask you a follow-up question. How much can soil nutrient balance help the farmer get better results? You talked about balance in that video, and you really drove home that point.
Balance actually from a couple perspectives. One is in the soil. You know, if we have really decent, good levels of phosphorus, but we lack zinc, we're just going to struggle to get phosphorus absorption. If we have the imbalances in our calcium and magnesium levels, if we have problems with our pHs, if we have problems with our micronutrients, all of those things, because nutrients are interactive and they affect each other and their absorption. But then also balance in the fertilizer blend. If you're trying to get phosphorus into a plant and you have putting in the other elements in the right ratios and micronutrients to give them better reactions when they get into the plant is critical to getting that maximum response to make those things come together and give you the results that a grower wants and needs.
I hear you folks in your industry and a lot of growers talking about responsible nutrient management. I mean, it is one of those buzz phrases that keeps coming up, and for good reason, I gather. Sure. Right, Cory?
Sure. Responsible nutrient management is putting out what a grower needs when he needs it in the right form that a plant can absorb that in the right placement so that he gets the best response. And a lot of times if we put all those aspects together, we can, as a grower, can sometimes use 20, 30, 40% less total pounds of nutrients and actually get better results.
As much as 40% less, you're saying?
And get better results. And that's what this is about. It's responsible nutrient management. Instead of getting 10, 20, 30, 40% efficiency from fertilizer, get 60, 70, 80, maybe even 90% efficiency. And balance is a big part of that. Placement's a big part of that. All of those things come together to put that picture together.
If nothing else, it's a pocketbook issue too.
Very, very much so. Very much so. And you know, the growers, farm prices maybe aren't as good as they were a few years back, and so that's going to be a big issue. We've got to do a better job.
Dry or liquid? I know you're pressing that banner forward on liquid, but why? I mean, talk a little bit about the differences.
Our logo is liquid, Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers. But I had someone the other day tell me, he said, plants don't chew, they drink. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. All nutrients have to be solubilized before the plant can absorb that into that plant tissue. And dry fertilizers do have to be broken down by the moisture in the soil, moisture in the environment, before that plant can absorb or take those nutrients. And so right away, liquid products do have a head start in that regard.
I was on your website, agroliquid.com, right?
Yep.
We'll mention that a couple of times this evening, just so you folks can get that, agroliquid.com. But I noticed there was something called PFE.
Yep.
Was a product field experience?
Exactly.
That was a map of the entire United States.
Yep. I'm the agronomy guy, and I have a couple guys that work with me, Jay and Alan, and we worked with going across the country and helping these growers develop these field trials for them. And some of them are replicated, some of them aren't. But it's just growers' experiences. It's working with growers like Joel, and where they're doing a plot on their farm, and then we record those results. And that way they can go to who's using this in my area? You know,
Yeah.
who else has tried this, and what was his results? Or hey, I'm going to try this on some, you know, pinto beans, or I want to try this on coffee trees, or something of that nature. And so they can do those and look at those trials and say, oh, I see how that's going to do, or I see how that did that. And it gives growers ideas, feeds off each other, and gives us better chances of giving growers those results, and they can see what happens where it happens somewhere else, that somebody else can do it and learn from it.
You bet. There's nothing like having a plot right there in your community, right? Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Max, if I can throw in something
You
here, just going along with what Cory was talking about, you know, some of the things are pretty technical sometimes. But it's amazing that as we work with growers that they really don't know a lot about soil tests or how to read a soil test or what's going on with the nutrients and that sort of thing. And that's one thing we try to do as a company is educate them how to pick up a soil test and maybe read it and interpret it. And like this balance thing, a lot of times people just apply something because that's what they've always applied and maybe overlooking really the thing that's limiting their yield. And so that's what balance really means, putting things on that the crop needs, not just something that you've always done. And Cory's done a good job of educating the growers.
Well, yeah, like Jerry said, and then we can help them come up with a prescription, because your farm may require a different combination, prescription of those nutrients than, say, Jerry's farm would be. And so we can help that grower come up with those blends and those prescriptions. Like Jerry said, we use those soil tests, tissue tests, come up with what they want, and then we can yield goals, and then we can come up with that blend for them.
Jerry, you talked about education. Two guys who do a superb job of educating are the Hefty boys. The Hefty brothers are a couple of the stars of RFD TV here. They do an excellent job of the Ag PhD show. I think you'll find interesting what they have to say. Take a look here.
We're pretty excited working with Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers and actually visiting the research farm.
The first thing that I noticed is they just had to have done a lot of work, because you've got all these trials, and especially when you start talking about replicated plots.
We like to do research on our own farm to prove concepts before we bring them out for other farmers, and that's exactly what's happening here.
We're always interested in seeing other companies that are successful and going about things, in our opinion, the right way.
We're pretty excited to see the variety of trials going on, and the number of crops is really amazing. And the scope of the business with Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizer is great, too.
We can learn a little more from these people and be involved with these people. And the other big thing for us is we just want to make sure that we've got a very good, sound business, not only economically, but also morally and ethically and everything else. So that's another thing that's impressed us about this company.
Really, the way my brother and I like to do business is a lot like Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizer. Work hard, learn as much as you can, because really, when we talk about responsible nutrient management, we want things to be safe, we want the crops to be healthy, because we want that next generation of farmer coming back to take over this land.
We'll be back to talk with the folks from Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizer on this edition of RFD TV Live. Stay with us.
Your equipment's ready. The seed's in the barn. You have a strategy to overcome the challenges you'll face, and your crop protection products are pretty well locked in. But maybe you still haven't finalized your fertilizer plans. If not, visit agroliquid.com today. With products formulated for superior nutrient uptake, unsurpassed application flexibility, and proven by years of extensive research, this may be the season to take your yields to the next level using Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers.
Wildlife eating your profits? Our hunters will pay top dollar to lease your land. Call Base Camp Leasing today to learn how you can earn income, reduce crop damage, eliminate trespassing and poaching. Call 1-866-309-1507. That's 1-866-309-1507. Base Camp Leasing will put money in your pocket. Call now. 1-866-309-1507. Call today.
As a Kansas native, I was born in the heart of rural America. Surrounded by rodeo horses and Angus cattle, I guess you could say the rural way of life was bred into me, making rural TV the perfect fit. I'm Courtney Dehoff, and I'm excited to join the team. When I'm not at a rodeo or in the show ring, I'll be out reporting on all the things I love, from horses to ranches. I want to bring you stories through the eyes of someone that was born and raised rural. So join me here on Rural TV, television for a growing world.
It is the difference between innovation and inaction. It is the convergence of nutrition and technology. It is the joining of knowledge and stewardship. It is the fusion of economics and environment. It is where nutrients enrich, plants satisfied, the soil redeemed. Fertirain, for our common ground. Responsible nutrient management from Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers.
We're back on RFD TV Live with the folks from Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers. We're learning a lot about plant nutrition, especially those liquid fertilizers and the attributes they bring you. If you'd like to call into the broadcast with a question or comment, let me give you the telephone number. 877-731-6733 is the number here. 877-731-6733. Just watching the Hefty boys. I got to get their autograph sometime. Those guys are larger than life. I hear their field day is quite impressive up there in the summertime also.
We've been to it for several years now. It's great.
Jerry, let's talk a little bit here about why you guys do research. I mean, we've got the land grant institutions doing research. A lot of organizations are involved in research, and they have their plots. Seed companies have their plots. Why do you guys do this important research that you do?
Well, plant nutrition is a big part of growing crops, as we've learned and as everybody knows. And yes, there is research being done on fertilizers, fertilizing all across the country at a lot of different institutions. But as we've learned, agriculture liquid fertilizers are formulated differently, so they feed the plants a little bit differently than some of the other conventional type fertilizers that are in common use and in the research plots and such. And so we can't really be lumped in with those, because if you follow those recommendations with these products, it just wouldn't work. And so if we're going to deliver these products to growers and expect them to be successful with them, we have to give them good guidelines on how to use these. And the only way to do that is with research. And since we're the company making these unique products, we have to do our own research. The bulk of the research is done at the North Central Research Station there just outside of St. John's, Michigan, and that's my summer job. Here's some pictures of it. Here's a field of soybeans, and we have 11 farms, over 500 acres on 11 separate farms. So we have a variety of soil types and growing conditions that we can do the tests on. We have a modern planter where we can place the liquid fertilizers in different places. We talked about placement already. Here's looking at some of the different placement options that we have. We haul a fertilizer wagon out to the field, and Stephanie here manages our applications. We can make foliar applications. Here's some applications on soybeans. You can tell those are soybeans by the way that they are. And foliar applications, like Cory says, a good way to deliver some nutrition along with the glyphosate application. Nitrogen applications can be compared with various side dress applications. We can do a lot of plot comparisons using the side dress comparison. And through the end, what really makes the bottom line is the yield. That's what the growers care about, is what is the yield. We can do all these tests. We take the fertilizer and the experiments from start to finish, making applications along the way, and then we're able to make the assessment with the yields. We also have been talking about field crops, but we also have an extensive fruit and vegetable research program, and that's managed by our research specialty crop research manager, Dr. Brian Levine, and his staff. So we're researching well over 20 different crops on those 11 farms and 500 acres. And we were talking here a little bit about crop research. And I've been doing this crop replicated plot work for over 30 years, and so I've been at it a while. And I just want to make a comment about research in general, particularly with crop research, in that I think that it's probably the most difficult of all types of experimental research.
Why so? Why is that?
Well, compared to like chemistry and things like that, in those experiments, they can generally control their situation, control their environment. Doing farm research in the field, we can't control. We're at the mercy of Mother Nature. And, you know, anymore people talk about going from drought to too much rain one year to the next. And here we are trying to do these experiments. But there's just things like pests, different weather. And so really it makes research more difficult. And that's why more and more has to be done. And that's why we like to do our own. And, you know, just thinking about it, if you doing crop research for all these years in the universities and such. You go back 40 years ago, they're probably telling you about how much phosphorus to put on corn. You go to Extension Meeting today, they're probably still talking about how much phosphorus to be put on corn. So it's a dynamic process.
Now, we were talking about your plant in there in Michigan, the home operation. Obviously, we've seen cornfields, we've seen a variety of crops. We can understand the application right in the Corn Belt area, but what about other parts of the country? Does your research apply there too?
Well, it does. I mean, first off, let me back up a little bit and talk about these products. They aren't products just for use in Michigan or just for use in Iowa or something like that. They can be used everywhere because the unique formulations are made that they can meet the nutrient needs of any crop anywhere. But the basic research that we've done at our farm and elsewhere shows that the relative performance of our liquid fertilizers, how they compare to other conventional fertilizers, it's basically the same no matter where you are. We know how many gallons of these different products to put together for a prescription blend, like Cory described. We know how much to put together to supply so much nutrient needs. And that relationship holds up anywhere. So if we know how much nutrients, how much phosphate, how much potassium a crop needs in Michigan, we can do that. But we can also do the same thing in Florida, California, anywhere. And so for the crops not grown in Michigan, obviously, then we have to go to where those crops are grown. And we do extensive research off the farm in other areas. For example, here's some replicated potato plots in Washington. We've done a lot of work up there for many years showing that the liquid at the proper application, proper timing, and proper rates will compare to much higher rates of dry fertilizer. Then next here, we've been working for a number of years at the University of Maryland on corn as well as soybeans, and continue to have good results there. Now, granted, we grow soybeans in Michigan as well as Maryland, but like Cory was saying, people like to see research in their own areas, so we try to support that wherever we can. Canola, that's a crop grown in the high plains of North Dakota, South Dakota, and so we go there to do replicated plots. And rice plots. We actually did grow rice in Michigan once, but it was a little too cold for it. Yeah, we had some levees there and flooded it, and it looked nice and impressing people. Unfortunately, it's just too cold and the season too short. We weren't able to harvest it. But we have to go down to the rice areas where they do grow rice, and we did plots down there. Sugar beets. I mean, the conditions for growing sugar beets in Montana are a little different than they are in Michigan, and we've shown excellent results with sugar beet fertilization in Montana. And then under intensive irrigation, the high plains irrigated soybean plots here, we did some in Colorado, just got outstanding yields. We were up over 80 bushel yields with the liquid fertilizer program, with soil applied as well as foliar applied. Spring wheat, that's also a more northern plains crop, and we've done plots in the Dakotas for a number of years, getting research data there to support the use of the products for the spring wheat growers there. This was one of our plots that we did a couple of years ago, Bermuda grass. For Bermuda grass hay, we did some different foliar applications comparing against some dry and other liquid fertilizers in Oklahoma. Got some outstanding results, not only in terms of yield, but in hay quality. And then sugarcane, another southern crop that we got to go south to do the work. And here we have some replicated sugarcane plots with a contract researcher down in Louisiana, and got, again, outstanding results with the banded applications of the liquid, greatly cutting back on the number of pounds of nutrients, but increasing the yields by the high quality and the placement and the release of the nutrients to the feeding that crop. So our research is extensive. We do a lot in Michigan, but we can go elsewhere because it's important to us to develop the right recommendations for the right crop so that there isn't a prescription for one area of the country versus another with these fertilizers. And that makes it just a lot easier, especially for growers like Joel here. They know that they can follow our guidelines and be on the right track.
Impressive geography and a wide range of crops there, Jerry. Let's go back to your North Central Research Facility, though, and really take a closer look. We'd like to take you there so you can see what's being done at that location.
It's been quite a year here. It seems that every year the weather is different than it was the year before. This year started off very cold, wet, and rainy, and planting was delayed. And then by midsummer, it was hot and dry. So it'll be really interesting to see the effects of applied crop nutrition under these stressful conditions.
The North Central Research Station primarily focuses on testing 22 different crops on over 1,800 individual plots. The largest acres at the research station focus on corn, soybeans, winter wheat, edible beans, and sugar beets. With this attention to detail, we're able to keep track of where each fertilizer treatment goes, so come harvest time, we're able to know which treatments yield higher than other treatments. Research and development is critical to provide the best products with proven performance to benefit the grower and his crops.
As you can see behind me here, fall harvest is underway at the North Central Research Station. In fact, this field of navy beans is the first experiment that we're harvesting. And when it's all said and done, we will have harvested around 1,500 individual field crop plots and around 800 individual vegetable plots, all of which go to make the North Central Research Station the proving ground for high-performance crop nutrition. We continue to see growth here at the NCRS. At the North Central Research Station this year, we were just under 500 acres on 9 separate farms. For next year, there will be 2 additional farms, putting us over 600 acres. It's a big challenge, but we're up to it for the continued efforts of our research and development. We've also expanded our research staff this year with the addition of an agronomist who will primarily be working with Dr. Levine in the specialty crop area.
Here at Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizer, we base a lot on our research. We keep growing every year just so that we can do the research that will prove our products for you. All of our products can be combined to achieve the maximum yield potential for your crop with a single solution. Research and development here at Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers is helping us to advance the science of fertilizer and not stay where we've always been. Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizer, research-driven, farmer-trusted.
People are really interested in what we're doing here. We've already had several tours this year featuring hundreds of visitors, including our area sales managers, company personnel, university visitors, and most importantly, growers who are either already using agriculture liquid fertilizers or are considering it. And we've already begun laying groundwork for next year's tours, which will be even better. In addition to showing off our research for visitors, the main purpose of the NCRS is to develop new fertility products for growers. And we've been doing that with the recent introductions of products such as Fertirain, Phase 2, and Access. And I see this trend continuing.
We help growers achieve responsible nutrient management with application flexibility.
So you can see that research and development is the cornerstone of Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers' efforts to provide growers with research-driven, farmer-trusted fertilizers for all the crops that they grow. This is Dr. Jerry Wilhm. Thanks for watching.
And you are watching RFD TV Live with the folks from Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers, the latest in plant nutrition. We're sharing with you on this broadcast. We do open up the phone lines on RFD TV Live. You can get in by giving us a call at 877-731-6733, and we welcome your call. Dr. Wilhm, we know where to find you in the summertime, don't we?
I'm out on the farm.
And the plots are expanding. You're going to have larger acreage.
We did. Since last year, we have 2 more farms now. In the video, it's 600 acres, but 500 acres of plots. And so, like I said then, it's a big job, but we're up to it. We have expanded our staff a little bit. That's one nice thing about this company. They recognize the importance of the research, and they give us the personnel as well as the equipment and the resources to do the job right, because again, research is so important.
Yeah, I can tell you were hanging on the combine out there. You were getting the numbers as soon as they were available.
Well, I got to see them myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to ask you, though. I mean, obviously, it's impressive that a company does its own research in its plots. You're doing your thing. But, I mean, from a credibility standpoint, one could... Let me play the devil's advocate for a moment here. You know, you guys have a vested interest in this. How can I know? How can I trust you?
So, doesn't this face look honest?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, obviously it's going to take more than my looks to convince people. And so, let me get serious here, though, and say, that is a question. Say, well, you do your own research, you know, but we're selling these products. Of course we're going to do the research. And if our recommendations weren't valid, if we weren't able to have the growers get the same results and follow the guidelines that we recommend, if they aren't getting the results that they would expect, or the ones that we talk about, well, we wouldn't be in business very long, would we? I've been with this company for 20 years, and when I started, I was a little skeptical about some of these things, and I know Cory and probably Joel too, saying, well, how can this fertilizer at these rates do what these rates of higher fertilizers do. But it is the quality of the fertilizer, the way that it's made, the way that it's formulated that does the job. And so we've proven that by research, and it's kept us in business, obviously. And probably one of the best ways for convincing people that we know what we're talking about, that we're a real company, that we're genuinely care about the farmer, is to invite them up to our field days. We have them every year, and this year, even though it's a lot more work for me and my staff, we've increased the number of field days. We're going to have 6 field days coming up where growers can come up and meet us and take a ride around and look at the plots for themselves, listen to people talk about them. They can get off the wagons and go into it, pick them up and touch the plants and that sort of thing. We'll have all sorts of side-by-side demonstrations. We'll have, it's a chance for people to get together and talk with us agronomists, as well as other customers that have been using it for a long time. They all have the opportunity to, learn by talking, learn by seeing, and see that we do know what we're talking about, and that's what's kept us in business for so many years.
Jerry, Cory, do you guys put those dates on your website? In other words, can folks go to your website, agroliquid.com, and check on those field day dates?
Definitely, definitely. And you can come and check us out for yourself. That's what growers need to do. Let us prove to you that what we can do, is what we say. And we have over a 25-year track record of over 25% growth. And if our products didn't work and the research that Jerry does didn't prove that out, we wouldn't be able to have that kind of growth, and growers wouldn't keep using us and coming back year after year.
Let's go back to the phone line. Let's go to the phone line for the first time this evening, I should say. And JB is calling in from Tennessee. JB, what's your question?
Has any research been done on pasture, and how does the cost of your product compare to granulated?
All right, very good question. We saw a little Bermuda grass, so we know you're doing some work in that area.
We do a lot of work with pasture. Actually, there's a lot of pasture acres in the United States. And if we do a really good job, we can get better really feed values from that grass. And so we can get those responses that you're going to want to get those cattle to give you those good gains. Balance is a key part of that. Taking that soil test, figuring out what it is you're going to need, where you want it to be, and so you can run the maximum amount of cows per acre that you want to be able to do that. As far as cost, I don't, as an agronomist, they don't really tell us the prices per se. We
of the other products.
Yeah, there you go. You wouldn't get the growth that our customers coming back and using our products if we were out, and if we didn't give the response for the costs. I mean, there's got to be definitely a value there, and growers are doing that. Our costs are always in line and work really, really well. The big thing with grass, though, is that you can customize it according to that blend. The dry products only come in a few blends. And with ours, you're able to customize it. Maybe you need zinc. When we add zinc, we're going to get better response from the phosphorus you have in your soil and also what we apply. Maybe you need manganese, maybe you need copper, and that makes that feed results work better.
Hold on, boys. Celebrity guest on the line. Celebrity guest calling in. Darren Hefty from South Dakota calling in on RFD Live. Hello, young man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Max. How are you?
Just great. We enjoyed watching some of your comments a little bit earlier here, but we suspect you have a little additional insight to share, as we always enjoy hearing you guys on Ag PhD.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, my kids were enjoying watching that, too. They said, Dad, we didn't know you were on TV now, so that was kind of fun.
They wondered where you were, huh?
One other thing, too, Max, I got to invite you to come out to the field day. I heard you make a couple comments about that. We'd love to have you come out.
I hear it's fantastic. We hope to get up there one of these days.
Well, the big thing for us is we want to raise high yields, and that's what I wanted to ask Joel about. What's he doing different? How is he getting such good yields every year? It seems like every year he's winning these yield contests. He must have a secret.
Good question. Joel, you're there in that southern Kentucky area, and you have, in fact, been able to achieve some great yields. There's the National Corn Growers Contest, is that right, the NCGA?
Yes, sir. We've been awful fortunate. We decided to make an investment in the center pivot irrigation in 2008 after going through another bad drought in 07. Ended up 08 was another dry year, but we was able to apply enough water, use a pivot not only for water, but to spread out our nitrogen applications, and use the component Enhance to make the nitrogen uptake by the plant even more efficient. It kind of gives a little trail to tag along on, but we were blessed with good soil types because we are in a river bottom.
That could be a two-edged sword.
That could be a two-edged sword. We are high enough that we don't have to worry about much flooding as far as being in bottom ground. But I think the change over to more and more nutrients right in the row instead of broadcast on top of the ground it has made a big change for us. This particular field that we're talking about has been in corn since 2008. Each year when the corn comes off, we put a cover crop of a cereal rye on it to help hold and not only the soil, but maybe if we've applied a little extra nutrients that the corn ended up not using, hoping the root system on the rye captures that and keeps it out of the water system. Of course, when you burn the rye down, you get all the benefits of the cover crop. We go right back in and no-till the corn again.
How long have you done cover crops now? How many seasons?
Since 2008 was the first year of sowing a cover crop. We're getting ready to plant corn in that same field again, and it's got rye on it that's been burned down. We're just waiting for a little rain to soften the ground up where we can get the planter to go in right.
Hang on. We want to find out more about your farm. We'll take folks there so they can see your farming enterprise. Thanks to Darren Hefty for calling in. We always appreciate the chance to hear from those folks, and we'd like to hear from you, too. If you're watching this special broadcast brought to you by the folks at Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers, you can call in at 877-731-6733. We'll be back here. Stay with us.
You want to take your farm to the next level? You have to go where the in-field research is being done. Hi, I'm Darren Hefty with Ag PhD TV. One of the field tours that Brian and I have enjoyed the most each summer is the North Central Research Station tour in Michigan. There are over 500 acres of replicated trials in corn, soybeans, wheat, and numerous other crops. You'll learn more about crop fertility in a few hours than most farmers will in a decade. Visit agroliquid.com for all the details, and maybe we'll see you there.
Do you have a product or service to promote to rural America? Did you know that RFD TV now reaches over 63% of U.S. farmers, 77% of all cattlemen, and is now the #1 Nielsen-measured cable network attracting the 50-plus demographic as a percentage of its audience? No other channel attracts more horse owners and small acreage owners. Contact our Omaha sales office today. An experienced RFD TV sales representative will look forward to discussing a strategy to fit your needs, deliver the results, and work within your budget.
Should I buy more land or not? Just seems like a lot of money. What should I do?
Dad, how many times do I have to show you? Just use the DTM profit calculator. See, there's our expenses, there's our real-time markets, and our goals. And here's our profitability. So there's plenty of room for more land and my new pony.
The DTM Profit Calculator lets you know exactly where you stand and how your decision affects your bottom line. Manage your profitability. Pony's optional.
You can't fill a barrel any fuller than its lowest stave. And your crops can't do any better than the nutrient that's in shortest supply. Your yield potential is only as good as the weakest nutrient in your fertilizer program. Give your crops more than just NPK. Prescription apply all the micronutrients your crop needs, each one customized for your crop's potential. MicroLink, linking yield to potential.
Welcome back to this edition of RFD TV Live, brought to you by the folks at Agro-Culture Liquid Fertilizers. Our telephone number, if you'd like to call in, participate in the broadcast, as you just heard Darren a few minutes ago, you can call 877-731-6733. We'd enjoy hearing from you, as a matter of fact, if you have time to visit with us and share your question or comment about liquid fertilizers, or maybe you've had experience liquid versus dry. You heard just a couple of minutes ago our producer on the panel. Let's go see firsthand his farm, at Joel's farm right there in southern Kentucky, to see how he's working with these various nutrients in his crops.
The Agro-Liquid Fertilizer line I started reading about actually a couple of years before Security Seed became a distributor farm. And in fact, I've still got a 275-gallon tote that I tried out on a field of corn. I'm trying to be more efficient with my fertility program. I'm trying to put the least amount of fertility and still maintain my yield. You wonder if you're doing the right thing. You feel that you are when people keep asking you, what did you put on that corn? Because there's a noticeable difference. This cornfield off to the side of us here has been in corn now for 3 years in a row. The first year we had irrigation on it, we was able to break a Kentucky yield record, and was the first people that ever yielded over 300 bushel per acre. I wouldn't be stretching it. I've got the yield monitor information to prove it, that later on that same day when we harvested that 306 yield, we was in some corn that was yielding 350. So we had to make an adjustment on where we harvested our yield plot from now on, and try to get in that sweet spot too. But there again, that's corn with nothing but Agro-Culture Liquid product line used on it. Our family's had a great working relationship with Security Seed, and I think by them carrying the agricultural liquid product line, that just proves to me that I don't really know how you could do any better than the agro product line.
Outstanding in his fields at Adairsville, Kentucky there, the southern part of the state. Joel Armstrong, congratulations to you. First of all, you've got the yield monitor to prove it and the trophies to prove it from competition of the National Corn Growers Contest. It is stiff competition. We know. We've watched it for many, many years, and some wonderful things are coming out of those contests. Yields as folks fine-tune what they're doing on their land out there. You touched on it, certainly, but let's come back to the point here of using agro-liquid. Why do you do it? Kind of give us a little emphasis on that, if you would.
Well, I've always thought that the liquid fertilizer applied in a band, either beside the row or under the row, was the most efficient way to do fertilizer. And when I started reading information about the agriculture product line, I saw where not only did they have certain products, but these products could be mixed together to make the special blend, like Cory was talking about, the blend for my farm that could possibly be different than a blend from the next guy in the next state or whatever. So it could be real custom tailored to the situation, and of course all that's based off your soil test that you take.
Truly a prescription. I mean, it's just like you go to the doctor in the pharmacy to get exactly what you need, presumably to address a problem or a need that you have.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the bases as we take some time to look at the equipment here. The farming operation has had some fields set up in a grid sample pattern, which instead of maybe soil testing areas of the field and maybe catching some different soil types, we went to a total grid soil sampling of 2.5 acre blocks, which basically, regardless of how many total acres you might be farming in the field, you look at each block kind of like a field. And with today's electronic equipment, auto steer and other things, you end up being able to place nutrients in the amounts that are needed for each block. And one of the ways we do this is placing our nitrogen right beside the row of corn, and instead of it being broadcast on top or in a band opposite of how the corn is planted, at different angles, we are trying to maintain the same distance all the time by using the spike wheel to inject the fertilizer into the ground. The spike wheel gives us the efficiency of not opening the ground up with a coulter. And there's been tests run on that to show even when the same amount of product is being dispensed, that the spike wheel will out-yield the coulter and the knife. In the row fertilizer department, where we use agriculture liquid products exclusively, we decided to separate our phosphorus product and our potash product, which is referred to as ProGerm and SureK. And we go back to those prescription maps that we are able to make up based on our grid soil sampling. So as we go across the field and enter into these different blocks, if the potash is already high or if the phosphorus is already high, the equipment can make a change on the go as we're going across the field. It's just, all it's doing is taking another step, just like a variable rate corn population. Not putting any more than you need, but making sure you got enough in the right spot. To even be more efficient, a lot of farm magazines talk about your row shutoffs, to where when you come to the end rows or your irregular shaped fields, you don't have any lapping.
Like in a grass waterway or something.
In a grass
like that.
waterway, you can shut these rows off. Well, because we were using air clutches to shut off our row units that were planting the seed, we were able to go to a company called Richway Industries, and they had a pinch valve. So every time I shut off a row of seed, I can shut off that row of fertilizer too, gaining me the same efficiencies of not lapping over, just like I have with not lapping over the corn seed. One of the newer products that we're going to use this coming year, and hopefully this is going to make us a little better at foliar fertilizer applying, is the use of a hardy sprayer. And I know the picture is a little in the distance, but this sprayer is referred to as their twin force sprayer, and if you look across the back, it kind of looks like it's got a gray bag hanging on it, and that bag is kind of an air tunnel. It puts air in relation to the spray nozzle that enables the sprayer to open the canopy up and get more of the spray down in the canopy.
Really?
And to get better coverage. That coverage is especially important in things not only like foliar fertilizer, but applying fungicides.
Yeah.
Getting contact on the bottom side of the leaves is very well. And the final picture had
center pivot.
Had a center pivot.
Yeah.
There again, any of these liquid fertilizer products can be applied with a center pivot or even drip tape. I've seen the drip tape applications. It's just hitting the target. Also spreading out the application times. It's all known that we gain efficiency by making split applications compared to trying to go out and apply everything, let's say, right before the planter run, so to speak.
I was at a field in Idaho not many days ago where the producer was pushing the fertilizer down through the drip tape as well there. That happened to be a crop of onions he was putting in at that time.
Very efficient.
Let's go to the phone line. Joey in South Carolina joining us here on RFD TV Live with the folks from Agro-Culture. Joey, how are you doing?
Doing fine. How about you?
Just fine. Thank you. Go ahead with your question, please.
My question, most of it was already answered. Thanks to the farmer there. He was giving me a little insight on the irrigating part of it because we have pivots on our farm. We were just asking about our sprayer. Could we applicate with our sprayer, which that was answered also. Are there any test sites that you are doing in South Carolina that we can look at or get a project from y'all to give us more insight on what it can do for our crops?
Very good question. And the crop is what again?
We're doing corn, soybeans, we do wheat, some oats, but it's most corn is what I'm really concerned about right now.
What about that South Carolina agriculture region there, that geography?
In North Carolina.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work in North Carolina. We have an area manager there. The sales manager would be Jason with our company. He can go to our website, www.agroliquid, and look up, and he can actually click, and it'll bring up
on the map.
Yeah, and it'll bring up who he should contact, and he'll give him more information on that. I don't know anything off the top of my head for South Carolina, but I know we have a lot in North Carolina, and I know we have a lot in Georgia. I know we have a lot in Florida, but not.
Is
South
there
Carolina.
a way that maybe Joey could contact you, and in case he wants to do some work with you guys? Do you ever entertain the opportunity for growers to work with you?
That's a great question. Good question. Yeah, have him call our 800 number. It's on the website, and have him give us a call, and have him ask for Cory or Dr. Jerry, either one, and we'll be glad to visit with him and set
There's the
something
800
up.
number. Yeah, the 800 number's on the screen right there. 800-678-9029. We'll leave that up for just a second.
And that's really how we are kind of get going in areas that maybe we don't have a lot of coverage right now, is people like Joey there that get a hold of some and try it and see that it's for them, and then we'll just go from there.
That's originally how we started working with Joel, is he called us.
And you do welcome the opportunity to visit
very
with
much
growers
so.
then.
Very much so.
800-678-9029 is the number. Yep. And again, we want to mention the website again, agroliquid.com, by all means. We have another call coming in. Let's go to the phone line once again. Alan is calling in from Pennsylvania. Alan, how are you?
Very good.
Go right ahead.
We're dairy farmers. We grow mostly corn, alfalfa, some small grain, not a whole lot, mostly oats, if anything. Where would be is there any test plots at Penn State University by chance?
Actually, that's a great question. We did some PFE work. If you go on our website, we did some work on alfalfa with Penn State University and had some very good response. Done it for the last 2 years, actually, and going to do it for the 3rd year coming up. So, yeah, go to our website. I don't have that right off the top of my head, but you can check that out. And you can also...
across the bar, is it the research tab that you click on where you find the PFE?
The agronomy tab.
The agronomy tab.
Yep. And all the research trials that Jerry does are under research, and the agronomy and PFEs is under the agronomy tab. But you click on there, and it'll give him an idea of who you can contact for a salesperson to visit with about it. His name's Benji. They're in Pennsylvania.
So agroliquid.com, go across the bar to the one that says research. You click on that, you'll see...
Agronomy.
I'm sorry, agronomy.
Yep.
You click on that, you'll see PFE, and then that takes you to the map. And he can zero right in on that particular region.
Exactly.
Excellent. We appreciate the call. Again, don't forget the website, agroliquid.com. You know what? We're just about out of time. Let's come back to each of you one by one for a final comment. Joel, I'd like to start with you. As a grower, from what we've shared here over the past hour, what would you like to leave with fellow growers who perhaps are asking some of the questions that you asked and are considering going down the path that you've already traveled?
Well, I think, you know, the first thing people have a question because when they look at the website, it looks like a lot of the research is Michigan-based. And if they just do a little bit more searching, they see that it is covered over more of the country. Even in our area, our local distributor, Security Seed and Chemical, covering Tennessee and Kentucky, has taken it upon themselves to have 3 different research sites of their own, basically replicating what Agro-Culture Liquid is already doing. But I think it just makes people feel better to hear, well, that research plot is just down the road, and this is in my area, and they are doing things like I would be doing, and they have a chance to look at those results.
You bet. Dr. Wilhm, how about a comment from you in closing here to leave with the producers?
Well, we've talked quite a bit about the website, and I just want to kind of say that they can find a lot of information. I think it's probably better than any other agricultural information as far as performance of our products. Not only have the PFEs and the research, there's a lot of product information, product description and how they work. And so go to the agroliquid.com, and then for the field days that we have coming up in August and September, they can, if they want to come to that or find out more information, they can learn there. But really the website has everything that we've talked about tonight there.
Including the phone number where they can reach you, right, Cory?
Sure. Yep.
Go ahead with the final comment you might want to share here in the last half minute or so.
Well, it's really getting those nutrients that crop can absorb for that crop, and whatever that combination of those nutrients are for that crop, because every crop can be different in different areas with different yield goals. But also taking into account that grower soils. Some fields have strengths, some fields have weaknesses, and play to that. You know, and some fields need some of other things and some of other things, and coming up with a blend that fits his pocketbook and his yield goal to give him those results.
Cory, Dr. Wilhm, Joel, it's been a treat having you on the broadcast with us. We hope you'll come back sometime. Nice to meet you guys.
Thanks, enjoyed it.
Agroliquid.com is the website you can check for all of that information, including going over and clicking on the agronomy tab to find the PFE in your area. You'll find that toll-free number there to get more information as well. Thanks so much for joining us on this edition of RFD TV Live. I'm Ag broadcaster Max Armstrong. So long.